Hello and welcome to the latest Red Robin Podcast Weekly, which is powered by 360 Chartered Accountants and Budget Tyres Auto Centre. This week, I am delighted to be joined by friend of the podcast, Mark Lever, and podcast debutant, James Purling, as we look back at our round 5 victory over the Salford Red Devils. We also preview Friday's trip to the Catalan Dragons with Steve Brady from Catalan Media joining us to give his opinion on our chances in the south of France. And we'll round up all the latest news and goings on at Hull Kingston Rovers, which includes details of our round 6 Challenge Cup tie. Good evening, gentlemen. How are we both?
All good, mate. Yeah. Hi, Chris. Hi, James. You all right? James?
Yeah, good, thanks. Yeah.
Check your internet, James.
Hi, Mark. Hi, Chris. Good. Yeah, thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
No problem, James. There's a bit of a lag on your internet, so I'll go to Mark first. Mark, obviously you travelled to Salford on Friday night, and without being too disrespectful to Salford, do you think that's a kind of game that we should expect to be winning if we're going to be competing in the playoffs at the end of the season?
Yeah, definitely. They're the teams that, and it's not being disrespectful. It's just we've moved on a little bit, hopefully, from the last 5 or 6 years. A bit of improvement last year, and we had a bit of a beating against Wigan, Huddersfield, St Helens, so we needed that vital win anyway at Salford, and we tried to win it twice. We won at 18-0 up at half-time and let them get back in it, but then quite comfortable in the end, really.
Yeah, and we'll go into the game in a bit more depth in just a short while, but is a trip to the AJ Bell on a Friday night in March, is that one you look forward to, or is it one that you just do to get out the way?
I think because it was early, you go, don't you? Do you know what I mean? Maybe if later on in the season and you're maybe near the bottom, you might give it a bit of a swerve. But no, we went there obviously hoping to win. So yeah, it's not the best in the world, is it? But I'm sure Craven Park years ago wasn't thought of as a lovely place to go.
No, I'm sure it wasn't. And for anyone who is watching us this evening, if you want to make any comments or anything like that, get involved. Just put it down in the comments section, and we'll bring you in. It'd be great to get your thoughts and opinions on Hull Kingston Rovers as we travel to the south of France on Friday. James, you made a last-minute decision to go to Salford on Friday. You must have been pleased that you did make that decision in the end.
He's thinking about it, Chris.
Yeah, it's okay. So we've just lost James for a short while there. I think he's just sorting out his internet. It's good to have somebody else who's got dodgy internet and not just me, as people keep reminding me. But we'll go into the match on last Friday against the Salford Red Devils, which Rovers, of course, won 26 points to 16. Try scorers were 𝐂𝐻𝐿𝐼𝐻, Matty Staunton, and of course, Mikey Lewis got 2, and Jordan Abdul got 5 from 5 with his kicks. The first try of the game actually came after 15 minutes when a short kick by scrum half Jordan Abdul was spilled by former Robin Ryan Brearley. 𝐂𝐻𝐿𝐼𝐻 was the quickest to react to the loose ball, with him scoring under the post, and that left Jordan Abdul with an easy kick for 2 points. The next try was scored just 9 minutes before half-time after a well-timed short pass from 𝐂𝐻𝐿𝐼𝐻, who was surrounded by Salford players, found Matty Staunton, who powered over the line from close range before Abdul once again scored an easy 2 points for Rovers. Salford were then reduced to 12 men 4 minutes before the break after Salford forward and another former Robin Ryan Lannon was sent to the sin bin for an obvious obstruction after referee Jack Smith had given repeated warnings to the Salford side. And Rovers took full advantage of that numerical difference on the stroke of half-time, with the Robins going in for the third try of the game. Lewis spotted a gap in the Salford defensive line before executing a cute chip over with just him 10 metres out from their try line. Lewis wins the foot race for the ball before touching down on the right in front of the travelling Red Army. Abdul again made no mistake with the conversion, which led us to going in 18-0 up at half-time. With Ryan Lannon still sat in the sin bin, Salford started the second half with just 12 men, although that didn't stop them from claiming the first points of the half. Some quick passing along the line gave try machine 𝐂𝐻𝐿𝐼𝐻 sight of the try line, and he finished off in the corner for his 7th of the season. Mark Sneed adding the extras. Salford then scored a second try in 56 minutes after back rower Shane Wright was able to touch down a smart knee grubber kick, who was this time unable to add the conversion. And then Salford scored their third try of the evening just after the hour mark, at a time when Rovers were probably enjoying their best spell of the second half. A long pass to the wing was picked out by Sneed, who raced 70 metres before turning the ball inside to winger Joe Burgess, who sprinted over the try line. Sneed's successful goal cut our once 18-point lead to just 2, but the comeback was sniffed out when we scored our only try of the second half after 70 minutes. A high-hanging kick by Jordan Abdul completely caught the Salford defence cold. Frankie Holton plucked the ball from the sky, and his pass sent Michael Lewis over for his second try of the night. Jordan Abdul successfully converted and then kicked a penalty on the hooter to seal the victory for Hull Kingston Rovers. Mark, you've already mentioned it was a game we had to win twice. First of all, how impressed were you by Rovers in that first half?
Well, they looked at it from the start, really, Chris. I think we had to defend about 4 or 5 sets on our own line, but Salford didn't quite look like scoring. And then we just took control. And even though we're not very fluid or we're a bit clunky at the minute, I'm sure you'll agree, we just did the job. And it was pleasing to see Minchella get a try and Matty Stoughton as well. So hopefully give Minchella a bit of confidence and all that moving forward, because we all know he's a class player, don't we?
Yeah, and hopefully, James, have you sorted out your internet? I think you've joined us again. I think that answers that question, Mark.
Maybe not. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going to read out the starting lineup from Friday night, Mark. We had Will Dagger at fullback, Ryan Hall obviously on the left with Sean Kenny-Dowell inside. Out on the right was Jimmy Kindhorse at centre with Sam Wood out on the wing. Jordan Abdul and Lewis were in the halves. Tom Garrett started at prop. Matty Parcell at hooker with George King, the other prop. And then we had Lynette and Holton at second row with Minchella playing loose forward. On the bench was Albert Vette, Jez Litton, Dean Hadley, Matty Stoughton. Obviously, there's a couple of big talking points in that lineup, isn't there? First of all is Jimmy Kindhorse coming into the side, a player that has obviously not let Rovers down. He's played over 30 games for the Robins now. And I'm going to give you some stats from the game on Friday night. He made 26 tackles, missing only 1. He made 2 tackle busts, 9 carries, 38 metres made with an average gain of 4 metres. He made 1 offload and 1 error. Now, you must have been as surprised as probably I was to see him line up for Rovers, especially out on the wing. Do you think that position is there for him to keep, or do you think he's just keeping it warm for either Ethan Ryan or Ben Crooks?
I think we all know he's an honest Joe, isn't he? And he's good guy to have in the dressing room and maybe in the team. He's an honest Joe. He's won things with Leeds. But did I think he was going to play and didn't think he had much of a future? No. But he'll always put his hand up, won't he, Chris? Do you know what I mean? And I fear if we play him, I don't know if he played on the wing or the centre, mate. Honestly, I don't know. The other night, was it on the wing he played?
Yeah.
Was it?
Oh, no, sorry, on centre.
I don't know. I think he did play at centre, I think, mate. Yeah. But I fear France maybe that he might get a little bit exposed. But whoever's played up that right side anyway in the centre or on the wing seems to be targeted, don't they? But he'll put his hand up and he's honest. He'll put his body on the line. But yeah, a little bit surprised really. I thought Ethan Ryan might play on the wing and Sam Wood inside of him. Yeah.
Well, that was definitely the fans' call, wasn't it? Ethan Ryan partnering Sam Wood. And obviously what Ethan Ryan brings, his pace, isn't it? But I think Jimmy Kindhorse probably brings you that bit of defensive solidity, which we've been crying out for. And whether he's there just to almost as a stopgap, it'd be interesting to see whether he lines up against Catalan, because I think what it highlighted for me why not having a player like Ethan Ryan in the team was when Mark Sneed was able to break 70 metres. He's not the quickest player at all, yet we were, it looked like we were treading water at times trying to catch up to him. And I just feel that Rovers need a bit more pace in the team, Mark.
100%, yeah. I mean, luckily Ryan Hull put a right shift in from his wing and came over, to cut it off. But obviously, it was inevitable inside ball to Joe Baird. You're not going to stop him there, are you? But certainly there's a lack of pace on that right edge. So I think the sooner we get that either Ethan in the side or maybe get a bit of pace in the squad, we'll struggle in that department. I think Crooks is not far away, is he? I don't think.
No, the injury update was provided by Tony Smith today, who said that Ben Crooks although not named in the squad for Catalan, that he's chomping at the bit to get back into first team action. So it definitely adds to that competition for places. James, you back with us? I think that answers.
I am. Again. Sorry about that, lads.
Yeah, James. Yeah, no problem. James, we're just talking about the lineup.
Swimmingly.
Mark, I'll come back to you. We've just talked about one player who's named in the team who was probably surprised to see. One player who didn't feature and was probably equally surprised to see him not playing was Corbin Sims, dropped out by Tony Smith for the not being up to standard. It's not what we'd expect, is it, from one of our supposed stars from overseas?
No, I think Divard's opinion, doesn't he, 𝐂𝐻𝐵, maybe the younger generation, maybe because he's a bit old show, isn't he? Buy into it a little bit.
No.
But us cynical old, well, not so much you, Chris, but maybe me and James are a little bit more cynical and expect more from our overseas props. So, hey, hopefully a bit of man games by Tony Smith, and we'll maybe get the right response from 𝐂𝐻𝐵.
What do you make on the 𝐂𝐻𝐵 incident, James?
Yeah, I must admit I was surprised, but then not surprised. But I think the games I've seen him this year, I thought it'd been okay. I thought, last year was sort of pretty off the mark quite a bit, but the games this season I thought it'd actually been okay. But obviously Tony Smith's got a different view, and as Mark said, I think he certainly does divide opinion. People just sort of see him. He seems to be always injured, or this, the little niggling injuries that seem to crop up all the time. But then he sort of seems to be, all right to play golf, and I think that's what probably winds people up. But maybe it's going to give him the kick up the backside that he needs, to be honest, because he's certainly got the potential and clearly, and the what the sort of prop we've missed for a couple of years or so now. So yeah, hopefully it gives him the kick up the backside, and if he comes in against Catalan. They've got some big forwards who, might actually bring out the best in him.
Yeah, I suppose my only worry with that is we saw at the start of last season, didn't we, where 𝐂𝐻𝐵 either tries to make amends or tries to make things happen, and he sometimes goes over the top, doesn't he? And he ends up actually costing the team.
Yeah, a bit reckless. Yeah.
Yeah, but one player...
Yeah, it does, but I think... Yeah, it can be, yeah. So there is that, but I think he actually has been more controlled in his aggression this season than last season, so it just seemed to be picking up on that and has learnt the lesson. Yeah,
but one player who took his opportunity in the absence of 𝐂𝐻𝐵 was Tom Garrett, wasn't it? And how impressive you've been by him, Mark, in his first of all his few games that he's played for Rovers, but in particular this game against Salford.
Well, it's difficult, isn't it, coming from a championship club, and he started a little bit slowly, but I thought his first stint against Salford really laid the platform for us, and I think that'll do him the world of good. And obviously, on the back of that, we're going to Catalans now, so it's another test again in it to see if he's obviously can go that extra couple of yards, like so. But no, I was really impressed with him at Salford. He was right up for the fight. Him and 𝐁𝐿𝐴, we all love him, don't we? 𝐁𝐿𝐴, he's our best forward, isn't he? So he's to keep them two together. They're obviously fronts up on Friday.
Yeah, and James, Frankie Holton continuing to oppress once again.
Yeah, I mean, he missed a tackle. I mean, what's going on there? No, I think Frankie's been probably the sign of the season for us, really. He's certainly, you can certainly see how he's progressed, and he just goes about his business in just like a sort of a calm, efficient, controlled manner. You just sort of, he's got the pass he laid on for Mikey Lewis for the 𝐂𝐿𝐴 try, was top notch. Just to be actually be there to sort of take that ball from Abdul. But yeah, it just seems to be getting better and better every game, and I think he has been probably one of the best signings of the season for us. And just to echo what Mark was saying about Tommy Garrett, I think again you can certainly see the progress that Tommy's making week in, week out. I think his first game he played against Wigan, I think he's probably a bit nervous, as you probably expect. He didn't play against Huddersfield, but I think the other games you can certainly see how he's sort of stepping on. And the most impressive thing from my perspective is the amount of yardage he's making, and he just has a really strong leg drive. And it's just again something we'd be probably missing for a few years. And I think as he gets more confident, it's going to become even better.
Yeah, and some stats that back up what you just said, Mark. He was our top tackle. Sorry, James, what you just said. He was our top tackle maker with 30 tackles. Our second, he made the second most amount of meters, 129. He joined fourth carries with 14, and he had the second highest average gain with 9 meters. So he's definitely someone who's definitely impressing and taking his opportunity. If we go back to that first half, James, obviously to go in at half time, 18 points up. What What do you think was working for Rovers so well to put us in such a good position?
I don't know. Just there seemed to be a lot more fluidity about them. Abdul and Lewis, I thought were having their best games. Abdul seems to sort of recovered his kicking game, and I just think the forwards just weren't really giving Salford any ground at all, and just sort of closing them down. I think Salford weren't really offering anything in attack, but that's probably more down to the Rovers' defence that was putting on show. And it just seemed to be we were actually getting back to where we were last season. It wasn't overtly flashy. They played the conditions well, but they're actually being very efficient about what they needed to do, and they're doing it it was being done very well. And then I think Mikey Lewis doing his moments of magic. It's probably going to become something we're going to expect from every week now. It's just the kids are stars. Is a unique talent. I was fortunate to see Roger Millward play. And you've got to think he's got that potential to be that good. Don't think I'm sort of being too I don't know what's the word. Too optimistic, but I think he certainly has got that potential.
No, and I think Paul Cook agrees with you, because in his article today in the Hull Daily Mail, he was heaping on praise for Mikey Lewis and said that there's a lot more to come from him. So I definitely agree that the partnership between Abdul and Lewis was working really well, Mark. And how important is it for Rovers that Jordan Abdul, it seems to be that when Jordan Abdul plays well, Hull Kingston Rovers play well, and you definitely saw that in that first half. Yeah,
I think his kicking game, as James said, was a lot better. The spiralling bombs and that was, Brady couldn't take any of them, really. He struggled on the night, didn't he, Ryan Brady? I'd like to see him link up more to Mikey and that Jordan. I think the players individuals at time at the moment. I'd like to see him gel a little bit more, but that'll come. Obviously Mikey's young, and as I say, he's just a box of tricks and magic. Maybe just needs to see him rein it in and just a bit controlled down that right edge at times. But no, he's going to be a superstar. We just need to keep his feet on the ground.
Yeah. Albert Vete, Matty Staunton try, it was pretty much laid on a plate for him by the hard work of Albert Vete, wasn't it? And I think it was probably one of his best performances of the season. Albert Vete, 18 carries, second most amount of carries in the team, and then he made 99 metres, which is, quite a decent return from him. And I think he's as frustrated as anyone about how he performed last season. And for me personally, I've seen a bit more intention from him, a bit more aggression, and a bit more, better fitness levels, which people are crying out for. How impressed have you been by Albert Vete so far, Mark? Deep breath.
Obviously, last year he was obviously out of shape. Where whatever had happened, whether he had an injury, signed him late, came near the line, demon, isn't he? But I want my prop forwards taking the ugly carries off his own line, really. Give 𝐁𝐿 a little bit of help. But he got his hands on the ball a lot more the other night. He was hungrier. He seems to have slimmed down, maybe lost a couple of Sharon, hasn't he, I think. So, hey, I'm all for it if he gets on the ball, wants to work hard as a prop forward, and then not a problem. It's just when he's touching the ball 4 or 5 times a game, which is not the thing what you want from your props, is it? So I'm a bit undecided yet. John,
no, but I think that's right, because I think George King, Staunton, workhorses, they do so much for the team, but you've got to expect that they're not going to play every game.
And that's the thing. When they go off, there seems to be a drop off in intensity. Yeah. We tend to get bullied then, So.
So we're going second half time, 18-0 up. Was there any sense of a Salford fight back? Could you see Salford getting back into the game, or was you thinking no, that the game's done and dusted?
I had another pant because I'm thinking here we go. Do you know what I mean? Got a bit complacent, and I think that's what Rovers players did. Got a bit complacent. There was always going to come back out and couldn't play any worse really in the second half, Salford. But really, yet again, we just did some brain farts really. And I think Kenny Dowell dragged Kenny CEO into just pure masculinity. You know what I mean? I can do it, but give a penalty away. Obviously, maybe Jordan tried to force that interception pass. Maybe 18-0 for 10 minutes, you just play your sets, get it into touch. But I'm sure they'll learn from that. So, but hey, it's the Rovers way, isn't it, Jono? We don't do things easy. Yeah.
It's definitely the Rovers way. Matt, you play professional sport. Why is it so often that teams go in at half time when they're in such a good lead, and you expect them to kick on and then go, instead of being 3-0, it being 6-0, why do they always seem to fall away and give an opportunity to the opposition? Because, you know, sort of case in point, Rovers, you know, absolutely cruising. Yet, if you saw the start of the second half, you'd think it was Salford who were the team who were well in front.
I think the best sides don't do it, Chris, do they? And I think we're a long way from that as yet, but we're improving. So hopefully, maybe another year on the back of that, we can start doing that. But God knows how it happens, John. You know, we've all done it. Do you know what I mean? Where it's 2-3-0 up at half time, and you think, I'm going to batter these 7, and it ends up not that. So it's not just in rugby, is it? It's in football, whatever. So yeah. God knows. I'm not a psychologist, mate, unfortunately.
Yeah, and they definitely seem, you know, all the good things that they've been doing in the first half seemed to stop, didn't they? Them first 20 minutes of the second, and when Mark Sneyd sent Burgess under to score the try, and you know, they cut down the lead to just 2 points out. What was the feeling in that away end when that happened? Because Rovers of old would crumble, wouldn't they?
I mean, I got about 5 or 6 lads, and there's about four of us there on the night, and as your mates, John, you know what I mean? There'll be some who's pessimistic, some who's positive all the time. I was I never felt under threat, really. Do you know what I mean? I had a couple of beers, so I was like quite calm. But my mate was saying, "Oh, that's it, typical Rovers," you know what I mean? Shite. But in the end, we turned it round and came back quite strong again. So, fair play to them. Yeah, we'd lost that game 2 years ago.
Yeah, and James was just saying to Mark about how nervous was you of Rovers being defeated after Salford cut the lead down to 2 points, because, like you said to Mark, Rovers of old would have probably crumbled at that stage.
Yeah, they would have done. I think it's.
Does he live in Westall, James? Chris?
Well, Phil Barrett's commented and he says, "Is James working a night shift on the air traffic control tonight?" Great to see you join us tonight, Phil. And like I said, anybody else who is watching, please comment and let us know what your thoughts are on Rovers' victory over Salford, and especially when we preview the Catalan game. But no, like we said, you know, it was good to see Rovers actually show a bit of a backbone, and that try. I think Tony Smith alluded it to in his press conference, didn't he? That Rovers actually scored at the right times. And for us, that try on the 70th minute, you know, Frankie Holton did so well. Mikey Lewis goes in for his second try of the game. It was definitely came at the right time, because Salford didn't seem to have much of an answer after that, did they?
Yeah, it killed the game, Chris, didn't it? That, to be fair, and it was quite comfortable in the end, and enjoyed the last 10-15 minutes of a sing-song. I think we took about 450 on a Friday. That's not too bad, is it, to say we'd maybe had a bit of a scratchy start. So we'll always follow our teammate, won't we?
Yeah, and one stat that pleased me, although I think he had, you know, his kicks were in pretty decent places for him, was Abdul 5 from 5, because it's something that I bang on about all the time. It frustrates me that we don't seem to take our kicking seriously, and that's not just Rovers. I think in rugby league in general.
Yeah, uni and the mad on it, aren't they?
Yeah. But you know, them points are the difference, aren't they? And Mark Sneyd, he's currently topping the Super League charts for his goal kicking, and it just shows you how vital it is to a team. But on the whole, obviously, good and bad, first and second. On the whole, you probably relieved that Rovers came away with a victory.
Well, it was paramount, really, on the back of obviously Catalans on Friday. All the will in the world probably go there as underdogs. All right, James? Yeah, probably go there as underdogs. So we needed that.
All right, sorry about this, lads.
It's all right, mate. No problem. You paid the bill.
I'm going to have to get the hamster to run a bit quicker, aren't I?
You are, mate, yeah. Not worse, is they?
Yeah, James was just saying. So, who was your star man? Obviously, Mikey Lewis scores the, you know, almost replica of his try against Warrington. We've already talked about Frankie Holton and some of his impressive stats. Who was your star man on the night?
It's hard to say, to be honest. I'd go for Frankie Holton, because he just turns up and does what he does, and he does it well. I thought, but as I said earlier, I think Abdul and Lewis actually probably had the best games playing together on Friday night that they have all season. So Abdul's kicking game was a lot better, but overall, I'd give it to Frankie Holton again.
Yeah, and I think you missed the start of the podcast and our chat about Jimmy 𝐂𝐻𝐽. Do you expect to see him lining up against the Catalan Dragons?
I must admit, I was surprised when he was selected. I was expecting Ryan on the wing and Wood to move into the centre, but I probably will expect him to play again on Friday night. I think there's probably no reason for Tony Smith to change the winning team. The only thing that did surprise me a bit, maybe not, I don't know, on Friday night was actually how little ball went out to the right hand side. I think Wood and Kanos hardly saw any ball at all, and so I think toward second winning field to try and get involved. So I don't know. That was a sort of plan from Tony Smith to try and nullify the Salford left edge. So I can see Kanos playing again.
Yeah, and Rich Robbo on Facebook, he said Kanos is a player who never lets you down, and Tony Smith is maybe just wrapping Ethan Ryan in a bit of cotton wool before making his return to the team. Just like to get your opinion, James, on Jimmy 𝐂𝐻𝐽, Ethan Ryan. You probably say different players. They bring different things to the team. But one thing that I've noticed is we seem to lack pace, and I think against a team like Catalan, pace is definitely something you need. Could we see another Tony Smith juggle? Because he's not afraid to make changes, is he? And throw a few surprises out there. Could you see Ethan Ryan playing on Friday?
No, it's not. I can do, but I said it. I think he was surprised he wasn't there on last Friday night, and many thought would be maybe he was a bit thinking he wasn't 100% fully recovered from his injuries, and I think he's having had lost Lachlan Coote in the Saints game, and then we've obviously now lost Lynette as well with the recurrence of his previous injury. Maybe he was just being ultra cautious. But you're right, Ryan does give us a lot more pace on that wing. Each time he plays, he seems to sort of score decent tries. And I think it'll be interesting to see how he gets on with Wood. So yeah, he may throw a curveball in there, but then he threw a curveball in with 𝐂𝐻𝐽, didn't he? And nothing wrong with 𝐂𝐻𝐽. I think he's a really good, solid player.
Yeah, he is.
But yeah, you just never know what's going to happen in Tony Smith's mind, do you?
I wonder if he does sometimes. One player, Mark, that I know you're a big fan of, Matty Parcell. What a difference to the side does he make?
He's a class act, isn't he? I think, honestly, he's getting all the Super League sides, if I'm honest. He hasn't started the season off magnificently, do you know what I mean? Maybe after his shoulder. But I think the more the season goes on, if we can keep him fit, I think him and 𝐁 to a slightly lesser extent, paramount for us, really.
Yeah, and James 𝐁𝐿iToN, I've seen in some quarters he's been getting.
Agree. But I think.
Go on, James, keep going.
Yeah, I think. Yes, it went to be quiet then. For me personally, I think 𝐿iToN's best coming off the bench. I think that he's been the most effective this season when he has actually come off the bench, and we've started with Parcell. I think Parcell is a great player, and we don't seem to have had them both on the same pitch at the same time as much this year. Obviously, because Parcell got injured on Friday night, so that's probably scuppered that a bit. But I don't know. I think quite like seeing 𝐁𝐿iToN coming off the bench in the second half, just as the opposition starting to tire, and be able to sort of exploit a few more spaces and create a few more gaps, etc.
Yeah, definitely. And how do you see that dynamic working at the moment, Mark? Because obviously it was something that was new to teams last season, wasn't it? Seeing 𝐁𝐿iToN and Matty Parcell on the pitch at the same time. How do you think that dynamic's working at the moment?
Yeah, I think there's a time and a place for it, really, as well, James and Chris. Sometimes I think that I'd rather have an extra forward on the bench, just to win the battle a little bit. I love 𝐁𝐿iToN, do you know what I mean? But sometimes you can't always afford to play two hookers, can you? There's always someone else who might be able to play 10 minutes, and do another job. So it's just getting the balance right, innit? I think maybe against the bigger sides, the bigger packs, maybe go like for like, maybe.
Yeah, well, that was Rovers 26 points to 16 victory over the Salford Red Devils. Tony Smith today names his 21-man squad for our trip to the Catalan Dragons. And it is Sean Kenny-Dowell, Ryan Hall, Jordan Abdul, Albert Vete, Matty Parcell, George King, Matty Staunton, Jez Litton, Corbin Sims, Elliot Minchella, Jimmy Kinehorst, Will Dagger, Mikey Lewis, Rowan Milnes, Will Marr, Ethan Ryan, Sam Wood, Greg Richards, Tom Garrett, Frankie Holton, and Will Tate. 𝐿𝐴𝐿𝐼 is missing once again through injury, as is Kane Lynette and Dean Hadley. I think Kane Lynette has suffered a recurrence of the injury he suffered at St Helens. Dean Hadley obviously injured again. What do you make of that squad, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, Kane Lynette and Dean Hadley's work ethic, we'll miss that, won't we? Definitely. Kane's been not quite at it, has he? Maybe carrying a knock. You can tell that he ain't been quite the same. Hands the time, don't they? The older you get, that extra season sometimes just taps you on the shoulder. Hopefully that's not the case. And Dino, love his effort, love his work ethic, but he's a little bit injury prone, isn't he, Dino? So, but two big misters to lose, really. But someone will come in, put their hand up, and it's just who we play in that back row, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and James, obviously, injuries to Lynette and Hadley opens up the door for the likes of Greg Richards. And I think that's what's good about our squad this season. There's a lot more competition for places now, isn't there? And, a player like Dean Hadley must be worried because, he seems to play a couple of games, injury, plays a couple of games injured again, whereas, a lad like Greg Richards, Frankie Holton, Tom Garrett, they're chomping at the bit. If they stay fit, they want to make that place their own, don't they, James?
Yeah, and I think it's really unfortunate for Eddie. He always puts his hand up, and last season when he sort of came back after his horrific. But yeah, it just seems to sort of be struggling with injuries at the moment. And yeah, I think also Matty Staunton. I was thinking about Matty Staunton probably coming into starting slot as well. To take and perhaps moving Minchella into the forward. I don't know. But yeah, I think Greg Richards probably needs a run in this team. I think he's got that experience, because he's obviously won a grand final with Saints. And it just hasn't so far this season. So he probably does need that run in the team just to sort of perhaps give him that confidence and able to get back up to speed. But by the same token, he's probably potentially the sort of player we need to battle it out with the big Catalan forwards on Friday night.
Yeah, and Mark 𝐿𝐴𝐿𝐼 missing again through injury. We've not really seen half of what he can do at the moment, have we? And Foxy 100 says, just want your opinion, guys, on 𝐂𝐡𝐚𝐫. Did we really need him? As I think Dagger was more than capable being the number one with PLT and Ethan Ryan as replacements. Should have got some more first team props. If you just part the props bit for a side, I think people are maybe jumping the gun on 𝐿𝐴𝐿𝐼 a bit, aren't they? And what we don't want to see is him being rushed back too early. But obviously the games that he has featured, he hasn't looked fit, has he? But I do think that we look stronger with 𝐿𝐴𝐿𝐼 in the team over Will Dagger, because the last couple of games there's been a few errors creeping into Dagger's game.
I think that we'd have all took 𝐿𝐴𝐿𝐼, and it was everybody was excited, but pre-season's massive in professional sport, and he didn't do a pre-season. He could sell that in that Wigan game, that very clunky one. You could tell he hadn't maybe done the plays, and maybe Tony, because he's obviously the biggest signing, we've tried to push him into the team when maybe we could have put Will Dagger in early just for the first 2 or 3 games, and he'd probably be flying now, 𝐿𝐴𝐿𝐼, fitness levels wise. But when you start carrying niggles, a bit like I was about Kane Lynette, picking injuries up at 31, 32, they're hardest to shake off when you're 18, aren't they? So, but I think further down the line, he'll be fine. Get him fit, he'll be a great player for us. And as you say, we all have Will Dagger as well because of his effort and his pace and his ability. But he's prone to a couple of ricks at the minute. And I just love having both in the squad, really. And you've got PLT on the back burner, haven't you? So.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see who features for our reserves, because I think they're playing, is it Sunday against is it St Helens or Wakefield? I can't remember off the top of my head. But
probably call it off again, Chris, won't they, last minute?
Well, I'm just going to bring you in on that, James. What do you make of the reserve situation at the moment? Because if you're struggling at the start of the season to get games played, it ain't going to get any easier, is it?
Yeah. No, it just seems a bit of a fast, doesn't it? Really, I think we all realise that we didn't, that the reserve grade needed to be back up and running, because you just can't, you need to get players up to match fitness, and they're not really going to get that, enough of them getting that on dual registration. So it has become a bit of a fast, to be honest. I just hope it gets sorted out. It is needed.
Yeah, it is definitely needed, especially Rich Robbo. He said that if everyone in the name squad is 100% fit, then for me it should be Jimmy Kanos, Greg Richards, 𝐂𝐻𝐧 and Rowan Milnes who'll miss out. I think it'd be harsh to drop Jimmy Kanos after we've already mentioned. He came in, didn't let anybody down. Rowan Milnes seems to be playing back up to Abdul and Lewis, and at the moment you can't seem to see where he fits into that team if them two are fit and playing. Greg Richards, potentially he could be a man who misses out, but like we said, with Hadley and Lynette missing, there's places there for him, and I think 𝐂𝐻𝐧 is probably one who does miss out. Tony Smith today said that Rovers will be travelling to Catalan on the day of the game. They'll be flying in and flying out, and that was his preference because he likes to sleep in his own bed. Although I'm sure that his travel plans won't have been arranged based on what his
preference.
Yeah. But no, if you look ahead to Catalan on Friday night, Mark, it's a pretty daunting trip at the moment, isn't it? Especially with Catalan coming on the back of a 28-0 victory over Wigan Warriors, who had spent, I think, the best part of 10 days over there in some kind of training camp. But it's looking like a daunting trip at the moment.
It sounds as if they was on the lash, doesn't it, really? Because Toulouse pushed them close, didn't it? And then they got battered by Catalan. So that didn't work either, did it? But I think with it being a Friday night, it affects us as well. We lack of supporters going, you know what I mean? Maybe if it was a Saturday, I don't know if it makes a big difference, doesn't it? It's not a working day on a Saturday, is it? So maybe that'll have something to tell. But I won't disagree with that post earlier about leaving Kanos, Milnes and that out. If I'm honest, I'd like to see maybe Wood in the back row. Do you know what I mean? Sam Wood. But he's quite rangy, isn't he, and carries the ball quite well. And I don't think he's quite got the pace on the wing. But whether we'll do that, I don't know.
No, what do you make of that, James?
On putting Wood in the second row?
Yeah.
Interesting. Has he ever played there? I mean, he's got.
I think a bit of it. He's played everywhere.
He's probably got the size, but has he got
Has he got the work ethic?
Yeah.
He's rangy, isn't he?
He has, and that could be one of Tony Smith's curveballs, couldn't it? Yeah.
Because we've got Johnson, Adley, and Lynette.
Yeah, that could be one of Tony Smith's curveballs, couldn't it?
Maybe. We don't know.
Yeah.
Well, ahead of our trip to Catalan, I'm delighted to be joined by Steve Brady from Catalan Media. Good evening, Steve. You managed to sort out your browser problems? We're not having much luck with our internet at the moment. How are you doing, Steve? Can you hear me?
It's like 1973, isn't it?
It is. Well, while Steve tries and sorts his internet out, James, don't worry, you're not the only one who's suffering from internet problems this evening. I'll give you the Catalan squad ahead of Friday night's game. Yeah, you got Tom Davis, Samusoni Langi, Dean Webb, Fuad Yaha, Mitchell Pearce, Josh Drinkwater, Gil Dudson, Mickey McAlorum, Matty Whiteley, Mike McMeekin, Benjamin Garcia, Ulrich de Costa, Benjamin Julian, Paul Segeri, Gudamond, Arthur Romano, Tyrone May, the returning Dylan Napper, Joe Chan, Sam Cassiano, Sam Tompkins. Straight away, Mark, who are the names that stand out to you?
Well, Dylan Napper's going to have a point to prove, isn't he? Probably his own debut, is it? I don't know. I'm not quite sure. But they seem fairly full strength there, don't they? Gil Dudson's back. I think there's only Bushke really who's not in that team. So, yeah, it's not really filled me with any great confidence, but you never know.
Yeah, first game of the season, Catalan ran out 28 points to 8 losers against, obviously, St Helens, the current Super League champions. They then defeated Wakefield Trinity, 24 points to 22. They then beat the Leeds Rhinos 10 points to 4. Warrington Wolves, they defeated them 24 points to 18. And then, of course, the last game featured was against Wigan Warriors, defeating them 28-0. Obviously, they're building up to something, James, after that first defeat of the season. Dylan Napper served his suspension. Yeah. Sam Tomkins seems to be hitting decent form at the moment. If you look at them players, Josh Drinkwater, Mitchell Pearce, Tom Davis. Is Rovers the best way for Rovers to get a victory is to concentrate on their game and not worry about the opposition?
I think it is. I think, to be honest, it's going to be a sort of probably a raucous atmosphere again on Friday night in Perpignan, as it always is. But yeah, I think they just got to play their own, try and play their own game. And that, you look at that Catalan squad and you're just thinking there aren't any weaknesses in it. They've lost 𝐂𝐻𝐧 to suspension and they're bringing in Dylan Napper back in. And you just think, there's very strong across the whole park, and as the results of the season that's really been able to, I suppose, really compete has been St Helens, and we'll see at first how good St Helens are this season. So I think we just got to sort of go out. We've got nothing, we've got nothing to lose. I think just play our game, I think hopefully, taking on some confidence from last Friday night and being able to sort of end up coming back and sort of holding on to, to win, to grit out a win. Hopefully that's going to give them some confidence. Then they can really tough it out and just play the normal game.
Yeah, I wonder, Mark, is that the kind of mindset change that we need, though, that we need to stop maybe accepting free hits? And we need to, to try and look at every game as I'm sure Tony Smith is looking at every game as being winnable, but that mindset shifting, that free hits and stuff like that, that we should be going to Catalan and actually not expecting to beat them, but compete at the very highest level.
Yeah, we certainly need to move away from that, don't we? The also-rans, all that underdog scenario. We went to Warrington, didn't we, last year? And that was the pleasing. We were so together then, weren't we? We had I think we had 𝐂𝐻𝐧, Mustafa, Ron Milnes on the bench, but went there 19-0. You know what I mean? Who would have thought that? So we need to go there. I think we've lost a bit of that somewhere in the last 3 months, that unity. I don't know what's happened. So let's get that back, that team spirit back. And I think the actual performances will improve. Maybe not on Friday, but let's see how we go.
Yeah, and there's no doubt that, like you've already mentioned there, James, that the forward pack they've got is really impressive. Obviously, Mitchell Pearce came in, big name player, and obviously Catalan have that ability, don't they, to sign the big names. But one player we're used to seeing at Rovers is Josh Drinkwater, and I don't know what is down in the south of France, but he looks like he's enjoying his time there. But I think we've got Steve Brady who's able to join us now. Steve, how are you doing?
Yeah, bonsoir. Can you hear me?
Eventually, yeah. Don't worry, you're not the only one who's you're not the only one who's been suffering internet problems, Steve. So yeah, whether you're in the south of France or whether you're in East Hull.
Steve's fine. Well.
Yeah. We live in the mountains here, right in the mountains, the Pyrenees overlooking Perpignan, and the signal's bad anyway. But getting it from Hull, 10 times worse.
Well, don't worry, Steve. I've just given out the Catalan squad for Friday night.
Oh, thank God for that.
Who have been the star names so far this season for Catalan?
Funny, mate, because obviously before the season, when Jimmy Maloney said he wasn't going to do the extra year, and then Steve Mack signed Mitchell Pearce, everyone's going, wow, he's a god of NRL, fantastic halfback, and he's going to be a younger Jimmy, more exciting. And then game 1, St Helens was anonymous. Game 2, 3, 4, he only really knows he's coming good. So I think you've got to watch out for Mitchell Pearce on Friday, I must admit. You've got virtually a 1 to 17, the numbers, apart from Julian Busquets, number 10, you've got a full strength Catalan squad there. So you're up against it. There's no two ways about it. I know you guys got injuries, and you never know with Catalans. Of course, it's unpredictable, but watch out for Mitchell Pearce. He's coming good. He's been a slow burn so far. It's only 5 rounds, but I think the guy's ready. We saw against Warrington flickers of it, and then last week he was just incredible. I just thought he just shone in the rain as well, in the pouring gloom of the south of France. It was incredible, I thought. Josh Drinkwater and Mitchell Pearce, ran the game against Wigan, and Wigan didn't have a chance because they handled it so coolly between them. And I think he's getting better and better, Mitch. And I think Friday he could shine. No offense. I think he's in his pomp now.
And how important is Josh Drinkwater to that dynamic in allowing Mitchell Pearce to play the game that he wants to?
You know, Josh, he spent time with you. He ain't the most expressive of. We call him the Iceman over here. He's like Ice Josh Drinkwater. He doesn't show his emotions too much until Josh Chandler kicks him in the knee. He showed a bit then, but yeah, I think he played well with Jimmy. He's had a couple of partners now at Catalans. It just seems to have clicked with Mitch Pearce now. Josh always says he wants to be he wants to be a dominant scrum half. He doesn't want to just be a halfback. He wants to be a scrum half. Give him the ball, let him play, let him plot, and let him plan. And I think Jimmy was a bit too dominant vocally and intense in the halfback partnership. I think Mitch Pearce is going to let Josh do what he does best. You probably didn't see it in Hull Kingston for whatever reason. But over here, he flourishes. Maybe it's the sunshine, or it's not been sunshining for a while. I think Josh Drinkwater's in his prime now. He really is. He's enjoying it. That's the key for me. Catalans at the moment, they're playing with a smile on their face. I know they've had the horrors of the bans and losing Napa. He's coming back. That's another problem you're going to get on Friday. Might not be a problem for long, the way he's playing, but you'll have an issue there. But Josh Drinkwater, yeah, your question is, I think he's playing the best football he's played since he's come to Catalan Dragons. He's confident, he's happy, he's composed, and I think he's loving the partnership with Mitch. Mitch is allowing Josh to do what he does best, and that's be a dominant scrum half and number 7.
Yeah, you just mentioned, obviously, the returning Dylan Napa. How excited are the Catalan faithful to be seeing him for hopefully a bit longer than they saw him on against St Helens?
They haven't seen him yet, apart from on telly. He did 5 minutes against Satan. Look, he's a big, aggressive, tough Australian with a reputation down under for getting sent off. With these new rules now, disciplinary, we might not see an awful lot of him. So, obviously, he'll have watched the games. I was sat behind him at the Wigan game at the weekend at the Brutus, and he's bobbing and weaving like players do when they're down again on the pitch and all that. He's fired up, etc. He knows now. Steve's not stupid. Steve McNamara has told him, you've got to just curtail it, Dylan, or we're not going to see you. You're going to be a player who's just be a name in the books, but not play all season because you're going to get banned all the time. That's his game. He's an intimidator. He's a ruthless, more defensive than attacking. He's the guy that when your forwards take it up the middle, they'll have one eye open for him. They'll be wondering which angle he's coming at him because he's vicious, as we've seen, and he hurts you. And then the other eye, you're going to have Mickey Mack because Mickey Mack's in his pomp as well. So I think there's got to be a real ruthless streak about Catalans on Friday with the finesse at halfbacks. And you know, I love you guys, okay? Always great fun when you come, and you've had a couple of years where you can't come. Remember Colin Riley, the loneliest man in rugby league, the rugby league supporter who came, was the only guy there. We spotted that at Catalan Media, and that went viral. You always brought really punched above your weight with spectators over here. Really great atmosphere downtown. Always good fun in the bars and at Perpignan. A bit early in the season now with all the COVID facts. I know it's settled down now, but you probably won't have that many over on Friday. But I fear. I know we had some really close games with you, apart from the semi-final last year, which nobody's going to win that apart from Catalans. I don't think it'll be close on Friday. I'm really sorry about that. I think Catalans are going to run away with it.
Yeah, you're expecting obviously a Catalan victory there. If Rovers are to get a sniff of a chance and maybe a sneaker win, where are the weaknesses that they'd have to expose at the moment?
Difficult, really, because you start bombing a weak winger or a young winger. Well, Fuad Yahat's back and he's good under the high ball. Tom Davies has been defensive this season for last year's top meter maker. His real impact for the season so far has been tackling and defending. So you can't kick to the wings and expect much change out of that. Sam Tompkins is Sam Tompkins, so you're going to kick to the fullback, but it's up to you. He's going to run it back, and then even if Sam goes off, Tyrone May showed an awful lot of promise in the brief instances he stepped in for Sam. I don't know where the weaknesses are, and that's not just being a biased Catalan fan or anything like that. I don't mean that. I'm looking forward to a good game. Some of the best games we've had is against you guys. I can't see it. I can't see the weakness. I can't see. Look, Tony Smith's a genius, coaching genius. He's found his mojo again, and he inspires you guys. You can see the ways doing this creative attacking play, etc. I'm not sure it's going to work Friday, and you're looking for a weakness and shoot like every team does. I can't see it. You're not going to push the forwards over. You might, if you're looking desperately for a weakness, of course, try and wind Dylan Napper up or wind Mickey Mack up or whatever. But I don't think Steve McNamara is going to fall for that one. So if you're looking for a weakness, mate, I don't know. It's going to be the rain or something. But Wigan found it last week because the weather's not good this week. It's just pursuing this bloody relentless rain. It's been a pain in the ass. I don't think the weather's going to help it. I can't see a weakness. I'm really sorry.
No, and that's my only worry is that if the weather is bad and Rovers were looking to try and play an expansive game, obviously poor weather doesn't really help that, does it? And then if it comes into a forward battle, Mark, do you think our forwards will be able to stand up against the Catalan forwards?
I think certainly we've got a bit more weight than we used to have, sort of thing. So they've got to front up on the Vetters, and I see 𝐂𝐻𝐧 on social media a lot. Do you know what I mean? So let's just once across that white line, let's get stuck into this psychopath they've got. Yeah, see what he's got. The weakness I see, obviously you see him every week, Steve, but 𝓡𝓸𝓫𝓷𝓼 going out of his backfield, but I think he's got hands like pig's tits, if I'm honest. He'd be the ones I'd be kicking to, if I'm honest, 𝓡𝓸𝓫𝓷𝓼. That's just my observation of seeing him on telly.
Yeah, obviously he isn't the world's greatest defensive winger, but he scores some tries for you. And I think he's polished that side of his game up. You know, I keep going back to Steve Mack and analysing what we can see in the weaknesses of 𝓡𝓸𝓫𝓷𝓼's game over the past 3 years. But I think he's buffed that side of it up. He's not shown that weakness so far this season. I know he's been out since the Warrington game when he pulled his hamstring. But he's been solid in that direction. And I know you're trying to find the key. I just can't see where you're going to put the key in the lock. There's nothing there for you on Friday, I'm afraid.
I don't think us three can. We just didn't want you coming on here totally. Thanks for that, Steve. I won't sleep tonight.
Yeah, and James, James, is there any way that Rovers can try and sneak a win? If so, do we need Jordan Abdul and Mikey Lewis to be on top form like there was for the first half of the Salford game?
They do. I think we're going to need every player who put some Rovers share on Friday night to be at the top of the game, and I think in a way it might be the sort of game where the likes of Vetty and Sims can actually come can really sort of come to the fore, because it's going to be a tough battle up front. Napper coming back, who's just going to want to sort of prove a point to the Catalan fans. And that might, in a way, where the likes of with Sims and Vetty pushing them on as well. And yeah, like Mark said, we didn't get to go and win in the play. It's 17 blokes against 17 blokes, and anything can happen. We've been there before. Steve said we've won unexpectedly. We've been hammered as well, but unexpected in 2000. We didn't expect to win, and we did. So, like I say, you just never know. And Catalans are perhaps due an off day. I'm probably clutching at straws now, aren't I?
Well, Steve, obviously, Catalan beat Rovers 4 times last season, including that playoff victory. And it's always nice to get the opinion of someone from afar. Where do you think Rovers' strengths might be, and how do you think Rovers might go this season?
I think it's got to be the pace in your backs and putting it out wide. You're not going to win it up the middle. You've got to put it up in the air and let your backs run. And you have got speed. You have got creativity. Tony Smith, I can't tell Tony Smith what to do. To get the guys, like as I say, an absolute genius. And he'll know. He's done it. He's pushed Catalans all the way so closely. And Steve and Tony Smith go way back. So Tony knows Steve from when he was a teenager. So he knows what Steve's going to bring up. It's pace and creativity. You're never going to steamroller them. It's not going to happen, even if it's sun shining or wet and windy. You've got to put it out wide and put it with pace. And at the same time, got to defend. I just can't see it, lads. I'm really sorry. I've said it a couple of times. I don't know about you. I don't know where it's going to come from. I don't. With a genius performance, Catalan's trajectory this season started with a loss at St Helens, a difficult win at home against Wakefield, and then a good win against Warrington, but led him back in towards the end of the game. And then Wigan, we annihilated Wigan, but Wigan seem to have some kind of mental problems at the moment. I don't know what the issues are, but they're not a happy team. So that was always going to happen in a way. But I think this slow burn they've got, everybody's talking about St Helens now, and they started at 1,000,000 miles an hour. Nobody can keep that up. It's rugby league, this. That can't be sustained, and all the pressure's on them now. Catalan's momentum started in a slow canter. So they're going that way instead of going like that. And I think, unfortunately, it could be tipping a little bit that way on Friday against you guys. And no offense whatsoever. I don't mean that. And no disrespect either, because it's a great team and well coached. I just can't see. I can't coach your team to victory on Friday. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and you're not the only one who thinks that. Thanks to Mark Charles at 𝐂𝐻𝐧 Bookmakers, they've supplied us some odds for Friday night. At the moment, Rovers are 4-1 outright, just for the victory. Rovers have got a 14-point handicap at 10-11. And then if you start looking at the point margins, Catalans are 6-1 to win by 1 to 5 points. 5-1 to win by 6 to 10 points. 9-2 to win by 16 to 20 points. And then if you look at Rovers on the other side, Rovers 15-2 to win by between 1 and 5 points. 10-1 to win between 6 and 10. 25-1 to win by 11 to 15 points. So it's all in favour of the Catalan Dragons at the moment. But what I would say is that games like this, it gives chance to, make a name for yourself, doesn't it? And that's in the Rover squad. You come away from a victory there, you score a try. All of a sudden you're the big name. So for me, it's what Rovers standing up and being counted. And hopefully, one feature that if Rovers don't manage to come away from Catalan with a victory is that it's we're competitive and we want to get away from seeing these 40, 50 point scorelines against Rovers. We want to see a bit of a more backbone and hopefully But yeah, I was just going to say, Mark, as well, no injuries as well. That'd be key.
No injuries,
but Steve, Steve, I really appreciate your time and your insight into the Catalans, and hopefully we'll get you on later on in the season. And I don't think there'll be that many Rovers fans there travelling over in March, but it's always one of our favourite destinations to go to is Catalan, and it's nice to see that we're warmly received by yourself, Steve, and everyone over at Catalan.
Every time, mate, every time. You're good fun. You just like the people down here in Perpignan. The Catalan down to earth, just like the northwest and northeast of England, that kind of mentality. It's no snobbery or poshness around here. It's all down to earth rugby league folk. And when the Rovers come over, they fit in perfect.
Excellent. Thanks, Steve.
Hey. Bonsoir.
Cheers, Steve. Thank you.
I'm going to have a drink now.
Yeah, well, I need one after his preview. No, I mean, to be fair, if you're honest, there's a lot of strengths in that Catalan team, isn't there? But
I don't disagree with him, Chris, if I'm honest, and James.
Yeah.
But I think the key to any success for Rovers.
No, I don't. But I'm yeah.
I was going to say that we concentrate on our own game, because I think the more you analyse the opposition and you try and figure them out and you try and target certain players, I don't think it'll work for us.
Play our game.
I play our own game. So it's certainly going to be an interesting one. Of course, the game is being played at 7:30 p.m. over in France. That's actually UK time. It's not being shown on Sky Sports, but if you've got a dodgy Fire Stick, you can watch it because it's being shown on BN Sport channel number 3 over in France. So if you do want to watch it, you can. And let's hope that Rovers, I don't think it'll be as bad as what Steve's making it out to be, but I do think that Rovers are really going to have to front up, and I think it's time that some of these big names, for instance, if 𝐂𝐚𝐧 gets run out, they've got to really stand up, and at the end of it, we hope that we get no injuries. Earlier on in the week, there was the draw for the 6th round of the Challenge Cup made. Hull Kingston Rovers have been drawn against the Leeds Centurions. It's the 4th time in 6 years that we're going to play them. Rovers today announced that the game is going to be played on Saturday, the 26th of May. It's going to be a 3 p.m. kickoff. Tickets are £15 for adults, £10 for concessions, and £5 for kids. James, 3 games from the final if we win this one. Oh no, sorry, 3 games from the final. Now, do you think this is our best opportunity to get some silverware?
Yeah, why not? We're probably not going to win the grand final with this year, let's be honest. But as you say, you only need to win 3 games, don't you, to win the to win the cup. So why not? I think we need to go into the league game with the attitude. We're going to give it a go. I don't think we can afford to sort of rest too many players. I think it's important to get players on the pitch, giving them confidence, and sort of getting them. Hopefully builds the confidence into the rest of the Super League season and take it from there. Lee are going to come fancy their chances. You know, they're having a good season so far. But then they did actually seem to struggle against Bradford in the previous round. So, yeah, we've got to give it a go. You know, you're down to a draw. It depends. You know, you know, at the end of the day, it's a bit of a lottery, really, isn't it? But yeah, you just got to sort of play your normal game and sort of hopefully come out on the end of a win, get into the hat.
Mark, it's a good draw, that, isn't it? You know, Lee at home. When you look at who was potentially, we could have drawn. It's pretty kind, I think.
It's a bit of banana skin though, as well, isn't it? Because they're a bit grubs, aren't they? And we got beat by Oldham, didn't we, about 5 years ago? But, hey, 3 games from Tottenham, aren't we? Sorry,
yeah.
Tottenham's ground. So as James alluded to, that's our best opportunity to win a trophy. So we need to put all our eggs in one basket, really, and go and that's maybe why he's leaving K-Lynett out this week and Dean Adley maybe, and giving Lachlan Coote maybe another week. And so we just target that, as you say. We don't make wholesale changes because we're not quite good enough yet to do that, are we? So let's just concentrate on that league game and get in the quarterfinals.
Yeah. And just talking about players who might be playing, Len Beecroft has said, don't know why, but he's got a funny feeling that Will Tate might play fullback on Friday night. Well, if he does, it'll certainly be a baptism of fire for him, won't it, Mark?
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, he's a powerful kid, isn't he, to be fair, as Will Tate. And I'm not sure if that's his natural position or centre, but I don't think that'll happen. But if it is, surely PLT would play at fullback, wouldn't you, if you got Dagger and Coote out, I'd have thought. But Tate's quick, maybe more of a winger than a fullback as yet. Yeah, but I don't know much about rugby league. I just support Rovers.
Yeah, I can't see that one happening, James. Can you?
No, not really, but I said, Tony Smith throws a care ball in there. But you think about towards the back end of the last season when Tate had a few games in the squad, he didn't let anybody down. I thought it was pretty good in the win at Warrington. He came off the bench and was really solid and really put himself about. So you never know, and it could be one of those things that's a bit of an X factor that could, just do something a bit different and something that Catalan aren't expecting.
Yeah, and I know we're jumping about a little bit here. One player who we've not really spoke about is the returning Will Marr. Do you expect to see him go straight into the first team, Mark?
Yeah, I think I do. I mean, I think he's a big lad, isn't he? And a bit of it's hard to look, a bit ungainly, isn't he? But I think he improved as the season wore on, and I think he looks a real genuine kid who'll put his hand up. Yeah, he's not overly aggressive, but he doesn't make any errors, and he doesn't miss many tackles. And I think that against a big pack, why not chuck him in? Maybe that's what I think. Just chuck him in on the bench, sort of thing, or even start him, because I think he's better starting because he don't give much impact, does he?
No. And James, was you one of them fans who was calling for his head last season and wanted to see him out the door when his contract was coming up?
Not at all. No, I think I quite like Will. I think he's just, as Mark said, he doesn't make many errors, and it's just and I think we need players like that who can just come on, come on, solid stint for 20-25 minutes without making the errors, making the tackles. And he said, he's improved. You can see the improvement in him through the whole of last season. And again, he was another one that really stood up in the game at Warrington in the playoff. And hopefully he's going to be continuing into this season. But I agree. He's one of those players that does divide opinion. I think people want to see him because of his size. They want to think he should be like Alex Walmsley, but he's probably not that sort of kid. He's solid. He doesn't make errors, and I think one of the things that we do suffer from is when we make an error, opposition. We're just opposition teams always seem to capitalise on it. So if we have somebody in there like Will who's not going to make an error, or less making an error, then less likely of opposition scoring. So I'd play him.
Yeah, and he's for me. The thing with Will Marr is he's a player that you might not notice when he's playing, but you certainly notice when he's not. And I think Rovers have probably been, I think Rovers have certainly missed somebody like him this season. And it just does throw up a bit of competition there now, doesn't it? Because you've got Tom Garrett, obviously did okay against Salford, potentially the returning Corbin Sims, Albert Vetty, George King, Matty Staunton, You know, when you start looking at them players, you think, you know, who could feature, and you know, the fact that Will Maher's coming back, you could maybe see Garrett going into the second row. But that's what's exciting. I think the only thing that frustrates me with, well, not frustrated, but when they announce these squads is you don't know who's quite carrying niggles. You don't know who's 80% fit at the time they name the squad. You don't know who maybe picks up an injury. And we've already seen this season, haven't we, with Matty Staunton not being able to get to the game because he was stuck in snow and you know, late changes, etc. That it's really important that we that we have these players available. A bit more club news. Congratulations to Rovers women who edged out Stanley in their first League Cup game. They came away 14 points to 8 victors. And for people who are interested in watching some rugby league at Craven Park this weekend, the reserves are in action against St Helens, 19th of March, 2:30 p.m. kickoff at Craven Park. So it'd be interesting to see how Danny Maguire goes with that and what players he's got available to him. With Rovers travelling to Catalan there and back on the day, obviously it frees up some players. So there's a chance you might see some first teamers lining up. And I know we've already mentioned about the reserves and the worth of it, etc. But there's got to be a point where some of these players actually play because, for instance, Will Maher's coming back into the side without any rugby under his belt. You know, this game against Catalan might be one too soon for him, and there's a chance you might see him line up for the reserves on Sunday. So it's certainly going to be interesting. And that brings an end to this week's Red Robin Podcast Weekly. Just before we go, boys, I know Steve's put a bit of doom and gloom into us, and I know we're all maybe fearing the worst on Friday night, against Catalan, but I'm going to put you on the spot for a score prediction. First, you, Mark.
28-12, Catalan.
28-12, and to you, James.
26-14, Catalan.
Yeah, well, I'm not gonna put my neck on the line here, but I'm going to predict a Rovers victory. There you go. I'll go against the grain, and then if it does come off, I'll be the one who called it.
Mrs. Johnson, take that red wine away from Chris.
Yeah, but no, a huge thank you to you, Mark and James, and of course Steve from Catalan Media for joining us this evening. And a reminder that our game against Catalan kicks off at 7:30 p.m. on Friday, and of course it is not being shown on Sky Sports. The Red Robin podcast is powered by 360 Chartered Accountants and Budget Tyres Auto Centre. And remember, live, love, laugh, and be happy.